Hello and welcome to the PvA Nightly Rundown. I am your host, Luke Croft, and this is the nightly gaming news show where I run you through all of the gaming news that you may have missed throughout the day so that you don't look like a fucking idiot at the water cooler tomorrow. Hope everybody had a fantastic Tuesday. I know I did. Well, I say I had a fantastic Tuesday. I had an okay Tuesday. So I stopped the show last night. I had not set up any of my Mad Brock with the 100. I've learned those are called Sparks in the chat. Thank you so much for stopping by. Hope you had a great Tuesday. I hopped off the stream last night. Realized that I did not have my gameplay scene set up yet, so was not able to play any games like I normally do. That is fixed today. We will play something for a little bit after the stream. After the show tonight, but I went to go lay after that I went and I played some Overwatch with Larry and Cody, and we were doing work, man. Mad work. I feel like I'm smurfing in the 222, but we'll talk about that more probably here in a bit. Got off around, I don't know, 11:30 or so. We played quite a few games. Finished watching the Popped Off guys doing Project Esports, and then I decided to go to bed. But I had been watching Mindhunter. And so before I went to bed, I was like, I went onto YouTube, and I must have looked something up because YouTube recommendations give me all these Mindhunter things. And one of the recommendations was a comparison video between the real life serial killers that are portrayed in the show and then the actors who are portraying them. And they gave like facts and details that aren't covered in the show about these serial killers. So I spent about 25 minutes watching that. Freaked myself right out. Freaked myself out while watching. And so decided to get in bed. I go to bed, lay down, and I'm like, all right, well, I need to turn something on to just kind of reorient my mind. So I turned on the Dota 2 tournament. And then so I watched a little bit of that, laid in bed, but I had drank coffee at like 5 p.m. And I realized this week I'm too old to drink afternoon coffee. Too old for it. When did that happen? I can't drink afternoon coffee because I was up until 3 o'clock in the morning. 3 o'clock in the morning because I had drank coffee at 5 p.m. So my alarm goes off at 5:30. I normally have to go down to my office on Tuesdays for we have a department meeting. Still in flux with the 100 sparks in the chat. Hype with the hype hoagie. Mad Brock says switch to tea. I need to switch to tea. And I drink tea quite often. I rather enjoy drinking tea. But for some reason, I really wanted coffee in the afternoon yesterday. So I drank some, laid in bed till 3. My alarm went off at 5:30. I was like, nah. There are people who live closer to me that phone into this meeting. I'm going to phone into this meeting today. So I work from home today, and I am running on very, very little sleep. Sorry, my chair acting up. Running on very little sleep. So today just crawled by. I had a bunch of meetings, crawled by. I know I probably seem super checked out in all of the meetings that I participated in, but yeah, they just crawled by. Also, though, awesome news. Hold on. I hit my sister up and commissioned a little project. She has a, I don't know, it's like a CNC router, I guess. I don't know if hers is like mechanical or if it's a laser cutter, but I had her make this awesome PvA radio sign that I'm still trying to figure out where exactly I want to put it in this room. I've got shit all over the walls. I want it to be in the background, but as you can see, no real wall space in the background, and it's too big to go between these shelves because I didn't measure. But she cut me a deal on that thing and put a lot of work in, and it looks awesome. And I'm really happy with it. Really, really pleased with it. So went and picked that up today, which was cool. And then we're just steaming through Mindhunter, man. Got 3 more episodes to go. I fucking love that show. Love it. Attach it to the back of your chair. Like right here. Make it a throne. I should do that. That's a great idea, Mad Brock. Mad Brock coming in with the hot ideas. Yo, Nathaki, thank you so much for the follow. I don't know what Hypebot is. I'm still learning the ropes here on Mixer. So we have for a while been doing our show over on Twitch. And with the 500 Sparks, no less, my dude. Thank you so much for the warm welcome. Yeah, so we've been streaming the show on Twitch, which has been awesome. So we do the nightly gaming rundown, the PvA Nightly Rundown every single weeknight here, except for Wednesdays at 9 p.m. And then we do our podcast, PvA Radio, which is me, a guy named Cody, and then still in flux in chat, Larry. He's one of the co-hosts of that show. We've been doing that over on Twitch for, I think we just did episode 53, 52 or 53 last week. And so we decided to give Mixer a try for a lot of reasons. Main reason being Twitch's unwillingness to address some of the issues that they've been facing over the last few months, and no real commitment to changing a culture that they've established. So we've decided for this week, we're going to give Mixer a try, see if this is a good home for us, a good place for us to be. And then we'll make the ultimate decision this weekend on whether or not we want to make this our permanent home. So I'm excited because tonight we're going to do the show from 9 to 10:15. And then I'm going to play a little bit of League of Legends. So Nat Hockey, thank you for the 100 Sparks. Stopping by. You're awesome. So yeah, this is the PvA Nightly Rundown, the nightly gaming news show where I run you through all the gaming news that you may have missed, that you don't look like a fucking idiot at the water cooler tomorrow. If you can't catch us live, you can watch this over on youtube.com/PvA Radio the very next day. Except for yesterday's episode, because I failed to check the little thing that says store the recording, save the recording of the episode. So yesterday's episode is just lost. And so if you were here to watch it live, you witnessed history, and nobody outside of you will ever experience that history. Total noob move. Know nothing. I know nothing. I think I've checked it for tonight, though. I think we're good. So, and it may be a little more slow going getting it onto YouTube the following day, because one thing that Mixer does not have that Twitch does have is that you can export directly to YouTube from Twitch, which is nice. Mixer does not have that, so I'm gonna have to pull it down. And then what we also do over on our YouTube channel, we break it out in chunks so that you can just watch the topics that you and you alone care about. So, all right, guys. Let's jump into it. I already hit the housekeeping here at the top, so let's start the show like we start every show with the games that are releasing today. And we always pull this from Zach Zweisen over here at Kotaku This Week in Games. I flipped my pre-stream button and my news button on my stream deck, and I don't know why. Terrible decision. Because I'm going to hit the pre-stream button before it's all said and done. Releasing today on PS4, Xbox One, and PC, we have Remnant from the Ashes. And then coming out on every platform, PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC, we have Rad. Coming out on the Switch, we have Yu-Gi-Oh! Legacy of the Duelist, Link Evolution, the musical, the series. We have Invert coming out on Switch. We have Truck Racing Championship coming out on Switch. Power Punch 2 coming out on PC. Tinhead coming out on PC. Pest Control coming out on PC. And Undermine coming out on PC and Mac. I want to look at a trailer. I almost did it. I almost hit the pre-stream button, guys. I almost hit it. I need to move it. Let me move it. Stream Deck. Hopefully this doesn't make everything go to hell. There we go. All right, cool. Well, let's hop over to the YouTube and let's look up Pest Control PC trailer. No. This is just... All right, we're going to have to go to Steam. We got to go to Steam for it, I'm assuming. So let's hop over to Steam and see if we can't find ourselves a nice trailer for Pest Control, which is out today. All right, we do have a trailer. This says it's coming out on September 20th, 2019. Nonetheless, is there no trailer available? No trailer available, so we're just going to be looking at screenshots here. So let me get this up like this. So, is this like a Space Invaders game? Space Invaders meets Pac-Man? Get ready to experience a game that harkens back, harken spelled wrong, to the 8-bit classics found in arcades. Play as a persistent mushroom farmer who must avoid endless waves of giant alien bugs while collecting his crops. This farmer comes equipped with power-ups to destroy the bugs and bombs to clear the screen. All right. That game looks terrible. I'm sorry I wasted all of our time. Let's move on to the news. First item on the list is a big one. We're going to get real in the weeds with this tomorrow on PvA Radio, I know for a fact, but I do not want to let today's episode go by without mentioning this. This comes from Jason Schreier over at GameStop. It's over at Kotaku. It says, GameStop lays off over 100 people, including nearly half of Game Informer staff. The article reads, the struggling retail chain GameStop laid off over 100 employees today, both at its corporate headquarters in Grapevine, Texas, and at other offices, including its subsidiary, Game Informer magazine in Minnesota, where nearly half of the editorial staff lost their jobs in a surprise cut. Quote, as a part of the previously announced GameStop reboot initiative to transform our business for the future and improve our financial performance, we can confirm a workforce reduction was implemented impacting more than 120 corporate staff positions, representing approximately 14% of our total associate base at our company headquarters, as well as at some other offices, end quote, a GameStop spokesperson told Kotaku in a statement. Quote, while these changes are difficult, they were necessary to reduce costs and better align the organization with our efforts to optimize the business to meet our future objectives and success factors. We recognize that this is a difficult day for our company, and particularly for those associates impacted. We appreciate their dedication and service to GameStop and are committed to supporting them during this time of transition, end quote. This news comes just a few weeks after GameStop laid off dozens of regional managers following a brutal year that saw the company try and then stop trying to sell itself. GameStop stocks has plummeted over the past few years as the retailer continues to struggle to stay afloat in a world where digital distribution has grown to dominate gaming. I'm going to keep reading here. The layoffs blindsided staff at Game Informer today. 7 of the popular magazine's editors announced on Twitter this afternoon that they had been laid off, including one who said he was on vacation. Per Game Informer's masthead, the magazine has 19 full-time editorial staff. Still in flux in the chat says terrible news, and absolutely terrible news. And I know the Game Informer side of this has been getting a lot of play, and rightfully so. Game Informer is a long-standing staple in the gaming community, and it doesn't look like right now Game Informer is going anywhere. But the 7 people who lost their jobs are hardworking, creative individuals. The work that Game Informer does is excellent. Some of the best preview coverage in the industry, and so to see them laid off is incredibly sad, and I wish nothing but the best for those talented individuals. I hope that they land on their feet, and so we're going to talk about that a lot tomorrow. Cody, one of our co-hosts, was an intern at Game Informer. He knows personally some of the people who lost their positions at Game Informer today. Some names that you would recognize from articles that we've read on the Nightly Rundown, including Imran Khan losing their job there. It's not totally unexpected. Me and Cody and Larry were talking about it in our Discord server, and it not unexpected. The news is absolutely unexpected, but when you take a step back and you think about, okay, well, GameStop owns Game Informer, all of these issues that have been going on with GameStop, they're going to have to matriculate outside of GameStop and into their other owned properties, and so to see Game Informer impacted is it just makes sense given the current climate. It doesn't make it any less sad. But GameStop is in trouble, guys. We've known this for a while, and they're working in this corporate realignment, trying to reimagine who they are as a company, and all of this like transformative bullshit talk that's in this this statement that was given is a veiled attempt to try to sound like this is a professional move, when in reality 120 people were axed. I worked at GameStop for a little under a year. I was an assistant store leader there, and GameStop has a habit of cutting positions to make it look like they're doing something when they're not really cutting out the parts of the company that are actually causing the issues with the company. While I was at GameStop, I've talked about it in the past. We were $100 million back on Battlefield 1 and Call of Duty pre-orders that year. And that same year, GameStop cut ties with, I think, like a third of their regional manager leadership. So, which is like middle management. So you've got your store leaders, right? You've got your assistant store leaders, your store leaders. And then there are district leaders, and then there are regional leaders. And so, and then you get into the corporate offices. GameStop always held the district and the regional leaders responsible for any kind of failure to meet sales expectations, when in reality it was a lot of the decisions coming from the corporate office that were that trickled down and were just bad business, you know, and measuring the wrong metrics, things that were just really, really difficult to control, like trade-ins, removing features from the Power Up Rewards program, but expecting us to be able to sell more Power Ups. So corporate was handing down initiatives that were just impossible for the associate staffs to keep up with, and they still have not gotten to the root of the issue. I don't know the nature of the 120 corporate staff positions that were lost, and how high up those positions go. I don't imagine they were some of the people who make those decisions, but it's just sad to see a company having to cut ties with hardworking, creative, motivated people who are doing really, really good work. I was looking at Game Informer today, and I found something interesting, and I guess I've never noticed this when exploring Game Informer. Let's see, Mad Brock in the chat says, when the problems are at the top, then they won't get fixed. And it's absolutely true. I mean, they're always going to protect the people at the top who make the most money, who would make the most financial sense to let go, because they probably have all kinds of bonuses tied up in them. Still in Flux says it really feels like Game Informer taking some of the hit for GameStop's bad choices. And I completely agree. I do think that Game Informer's revenue stream is directly tied to GameStop's success, in that people who sign up for a Power Up Rewards card get an annual subscription to Game Informer. And so you have to imagine that a percentage of all of those Power Up Rewards cards that are sold, which are, you know, $15 a year, goes back to Game Informer. And so if GameStop as a whole is struggling with foot traffic, which is something we've talked about on this show, if just getting people in the stores wanting to buy things, then they're going to be suffering in terms of the people that are signing up for the Power Up Rewards card, which in turn is going to impact the subscriber base for Game Informer to an extent. And so while I do think it's these 7 individuals taking the fall for issues that aren't their issues, it's clear to see the correlation between those, because not just because the rising tide lifts all boats, but because one of their direct revenue streams is intrinsically tied to an in-store offer at GameStop. But if you come over here to Game Informer's website, notice something that is missing on here. And hold on. Well, it says it's blocking 12. Is it? Let's refresh. I was looking at this earlier and I did not. Yeah. Okay, well there's some ads. I was not seeing as many ads on when I was looking on Safari. So let's click into an article actually. So when you're scrolling through here, I see two ads. Right here, right here. I'm not seeing any. These are all locally hosted articles right here. Locally hosted articles, locally hosted articles, locally hosted articles, locally hosted poll. I'm seeing no more ads but the two that were there for Lowe's. Madbrock says the only reason I had a reward card was for the mag for a few years, but I dropped it several years ago. And while I was there, they were automatically signing people up for digital copies of Game Informer when they renewed their GameStop Power Up card. And we were told, like, don't ask if they want a physical copy of this. You want to make sure that, you know, we just sign them up for the digital. It saves us money on shipping and print costs and all of those things. But if somebody directly asks, then yes, we still offer the print version. And for me, that was the thing. Like, I liked receiving the magazine in the mail. I remember as a kid, like, going to GameStop, getting the magazine, and then just sitting in the car all the way home, because at the time, like, our closest GameStop was 45 minutes away. Sitting in the car the whole time, just like flipping through Game Informer, looking at all the screenshots, reading all the articles. Like, the Game Informer experience was directly tied to the GameStop experience. And so, yeah, when we're looking over here, let's click into an article. Madbrock says, yeah, read it during lunches at work. Cool artwork as well. Yeah, I remember holding on to just stacks of Game Informer magazines, and not like a stack of Game Informer magazines that I never went back to look at again, but stacks of Game Informer magazines that I love flipping through because the design was so good, the artwork was so good. As I grew older and got more into reading about gaming news and previews, the writing was so good. So yeah, if we click into an article here, you'll notice, like, we see this little banner ad and this sidebar ad, but outside of that, there's a footer ad right here, but nothing else. So the Game Informer online experience is a very ad light, and I appreciate that. One of the things you'll notice when you go to an article, Player versus All, and forgive us, we have not written an article at Player versus All in a couple weeks. But if you come here, like, you get this ad right here, this banner ad, there's a sidebar ad, and nothing else. Like, I appreciate ad light designs. Absolutely. The thing I hate most when I go to a website is you're on it and boom, there's a pop-up ad or one of those big sprawling ads that's like behind the that's in the background. And oh yeah, I am capturing my mouse, like in this area right here. I hate seeing that shit. So I appreciate an ad light experience, but I have to believe that, like, Game Informer could be generating more revenue, I think, if they were to just place a couple more sponsored places on here, add some more ad space. I would love to know what the traffic to Game Informer each month is, GameInformer.com, and really how much the ad revenue from just these is moving the needle. But, like, you could do like a mid article banner here. Like, you can add it in a couple places and keep it pretty unintrusive, and I think bring in quite a bit of revenue. And it's not that I don't want to parse through the finances of the decision because people lost their jobs. Mad Brock says, sounds like you work in marketing, which I do, which is what I do. I just think there's places that you could do it and not impact the reader experience all that much. And I don't want to get too lost in the weeds about these little things because people did lose their jobs, and I want to be sensitive to that. But if there's problems at GameStop, Game Informer is not the problem. Game Informer is not the problem, but they are intrinsically tied to it. And as Still in Flux pointed out earlier, they are taking a hit for the diminished successes. So it's just sad news. And we've kind of talked about the where's GameStop going at length. And so no reason to beat that dead horse into the ground anymore. So next item on the list, as I lift this chair up again. The Overwatch League has released its 2020 schedule, which is big news because the 2020 schedule is the schedule in which teams will be traveling each week. So I want to point something out. This is over on the Overwatch League website. It says, we recently shared some high-level details about what next season will look like for the Overwatch League, and today we're excited to share the 2020 schedule so you can start planning your weekends, your time off, your vacations, your road trips, and your viewing parties. All right, guys. You guys want to see how they decided to show us the schedule? Check this out. Also just realized that I took the border off of my screen capture here. That's okay. They decided to release a freaking 25-page PDF with no easier way to read this. You have to scroll through here. So let's just hit on the first week, and then I'm going to find a text-based one that I found earlier that's going to be really helpful. So opening weekend, there's going to be 2 cities that are hosting games. So essentially each weekend, outside of a couple exceptions, there's going to be 2 cities that are hosting games. So the first week, New York and Dallas. And so Dallas had one of the homestand weekends this year. New York did not have a homestand weekend this year. They're going to be kicking it off. So there will be, I think, at most 4 teams. There will be at most 6 teams at these locations each week. And they'll rotate who's playing each other. So as you can see, like week 1, day 1, it will be Paris Eternal versus the Toronto Defiant, NYXL versus the Spitfire. So the next day it'll be the Paris Eternal versus London Spitfire, NYXL versus the Boston Uprising. Never mind. I didn't realize that the first time I looked at it, that the Uprising are just kind of thrown in there without a game. So the Defiant only play once that week, and Boston only plays once that week, but it's not in their own homestand, which is weird. So they have to travel just to play one game. All right, I'm going to find the text-based one, which just really throws out what cities they're going to be playing in, not necessarily the actual games. Let's see. Somebody tweeted it a couple minutes ago. Find it. I just thought that was such a terrible way to show off the schedule. Like people want to get in there and they want the information as quick as possible, because they really do. People are starting to plan when they're going to attend these weekends, and so to present it in just this absolutely atrocious way makes no sense to me. All right, let me see if I can find it on my phone, guys. I'm sorry, I meant to put this link in. I also just noticed that Larry changed his Twitter handle to Still in Flux as well. Congratulations, Larry. He's adopting it. Oh, shit. I think I had it and then I lost it. Okay, well, it's gone forever. Anyway, I don't really want to get into the specifics of, week in, week out, where people are going to go. I am going to go to upcomer.com and find this article that Yiska, a writer for an Overwatch League analyst, posted, because he posted this table, which for some reason is as tiny as can be, into this article. Here we go. Sorry, this needs more JPEG. Essentially laying out how many homestands each team has, how many games they're going to be hosting, how many weekends they're going to be active, and their total travel distance. And so the Washington Justice, see, this is what I don't like. Giant pop-ups like that. So the Washington Justice, they're going to be hosting, they're one of 3 teams that are going to be hosting 5 homestands, 28 games hosted. They're active 17 weekends, but I don't think that they play at all internationally. So Their total travel distance over the year will be 21,328 miles. All of the Atlantic South essentially is, I don't think many if any of them are traveling internationally, and so you see like these travel distances are pretty low. Whereas you get into Boston and the European teams, and they're traveling almost 70,000 miles over the 27 weeks of the season, which is wild to me. But I haven't quite figured out where I land on this travel schedule yet. There's a lot of people who are concerned about the fact that, like, oh man, teams are going to be on the road so much, it's going to wear on players. The Overwatch League does not have the best track record of taking care of their players mentally. There is a lot of burnout that's been experienced. There's been a lot of over practicing that has gone on. A lot of people being just kind of overworked. And so comparing the travel schedule to traditional sports, I think, is a little difficult to do, because traditional sports have really figured out, like, we've got sports psychologists. We have staff members who are monitoring, like in the NBA especially, you'll read about like monitoring sleep schedules and, you know, diets, and like there is a support staff following these teams around, making sure that they are being taken care of holistically. I don't know if each Overwatch team has that kind of staffing. I know that they hire like team chefs that cook at the houses in LA that they live in, but outside of that, I don't know if they have like these mental health professionals that are looking at them holistically. Like, do they have trainers that are making sure they're taking care of themselves physically? Because there is a mental toll that goes into traveling, and the way that this is structured is not like, all right, I'm going to play in Hangzhou one week, and then I'm traveling to London the next week, and then I got to play in Vancouver the next week. No, most of these teams are like, all right, we're going to be camped in Southeast Asia for 2 months. We're going to come to America for a month. We're going to go back to Southeast Asia for 2 months. So they've tried to block it out pretty well, but at the end of the day, I mean, 76,000 miles traveled for the London Spitfire over that 27 weeks. That's insane. And I just hope, I hope for two things. The first thing that I hope for is that teams are preparing themselves to take care of their players holistically, like we just talked about. I think it's incredibly important. The last thing that the Overwatch League needs in its infancy is stories about how stories about player burnout, more so than we have now. And that's the last thing these players need also. I don't want to sound like I'm calloused and like I only care about the success of the league. Like, these players need to take care of themselves. Madbrock says sleep becomes an issue when you travel a lot for some people, and especially international travel. You're traveling between time zones, like, and I think it's good that they're traveling in such a way that, like, all right, you're going to stay in this area for a while. The European teams are kind of getting fucked in all of this. Paris has three weekends, homestand weekends. London has 2 homestand weekends. That means all of the rest of their, 24 weeks or they're going to be spent traveling internationally traveling to different time zones. But the second thing that I hope for within this is that each of these markets has the local support. I am not worried at all about the turnout for Hangzhou, for Chengdu, for Seoul. I think the Asian markets are ready to host these teams and excited to have them in their backyard. What I worry more so about is like drawing out a crowd in Vancouver, drawing out a crowd in Paris, drawing out a crowd in Philadelphia 3 times a year. You know, like, I want these games to be hype. The homestand weekends have been a major success in both Atlanta and Dallas this year, and I just hope that these markets are ready to support these teams locally. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited to see how this works out. I think what I would like to eventually see is more of a League of Legends approach where they have like, all right, we have the LEC, which is in Europe. We have the LCS, which is in America. We have the LPL, which is in Japan. We have the LCK, which is in Korea. I'd like to see them set up like international leagues and then have big events twice a year, like the mid-season international and Worlds and League, where they come together and they play against one another. I think that's really the only way this can become super viable. I don't know if this travel schedule can be replicated year in and year out. Matt Brock says, will all of this be on ESPN or just a few of them? So every single game streams on Twitch, twitch.tv/Overwatch League, which is where I watch. They air a number of their games each week on Disney XD. Some of their games make their way onto ESPN2, and then some of the playoff games even make their way onto ABC. Like all of the stage finals this year have been on ABC. Mad Brock says because the ESPN hype will bring in some people. Yeah, and it was cool. I actually went to, this was a few weeks ago during the Stage 3 finals. I went to a local sports bar here in Uptown called Hugo's. And when I walked in, they had the Shock Dragons game playing on the television. And I don't think anybody in there really cared about it. It was just being shown on ABC. And so it was on, but it was just cool. Like, walking into a sports bar and seeing this world this like little circle that I'm connected in, being shown in this context that I grew up like going to B-dubs to watch college football and the NBA and the World Series with friends. Like, we would go watch Sunday Night Football a couple times a year at B-dubs when I was in college, like, or go watch the wrestling pay-per-views and stuff. So to walk into a sports bar and to see Overwatch was awesome. And I think it's only going to grow in terms of the mainstream media coverage, especially given the success of like Fortnite and the prize pools and stuff. And I think with these games being played in local markets, there's more reason for local news stations to cover them, especially like Philly. NBC Sports Philadelphia covers the Fusion on their website. And I think, when these teams are playing in their own backyard, I'd love to see those stations picking up airing their games as well. So I'm excited for Overwatch 2020. I have my concerns, but I'm not going to let the concerns stymie my excitement, because I want to give teams the benefit of the doubt that they're going to figure out how to make it successful. Next item on the list. Microsoft has no plans to release more Xbox exclusives on PS4 or Nintendo Switch. This is from Christopher Dring over at gamesindustry.biz. It says, Microsoft has no plans to release more exclusive Xbox games on other consoles. It comes after the firm announced via Nintendo that it will publish Ori and the Blind Forest Definitive Edition on Nintendo Switch. The game was previously exclusive to Xbox One and PC. Nintendo and Xbox have been collaborating over the past 12 months, including the introduction of Microsoft's Banjo-Kazooie into Nintendo Smash Bros. Ultimate. Nintendo also called out our friends at Microsoft for supporting the release of Cuphead on Switch, although Microsoft has told GamesIndustry.biz that Cuphead was never an exclusive Xbox IP and is the property of developer studio MDHR. Xbox has also recently acquired a number of studios that have released or will release games on Nintendo Switch, including Obsidian, Double Fine, and Ninja Theory. However, in a statement to GamesIndustry.biz, Microsoft has played down future releases. Quote, the past year has been an exciting time for us as we have more than doubled the internal creative teams making up Xbox Game Studio. As these new studios transition in, we are aware of some existing commitments to other platforms and will honor them. However, going forward, these new studios will focus on making games for our platforms. We have no plans to further expand our exclusive first-party games to other consoles. We continue to believe deeply in crossplay and progression of games with the right flexibility for developers to ensure a fair and fun experience. This is interesting. I don't know if you guys want to hit the rewind button and think back to some stories we talked about last week, where Xbox executive Matt Booty came out and said that they would be open to discussion, specifically in reference to Double Fine, to releasing future Xbox exclusive titles on other consoles when it made sense. And so this messaging kind of flies a little bit in the face of what we talked about last week. And flies a little bit in the face of what Matt Booty said in that interview. And I understand that Matt Booty may not be the person who can make that call directly. And so, towing that line to not back yourself into any corner is just to say we're open to it. And this is more of a firm shutting of the door. The GamesIndustry.biz article does go on to talk about how Xbox is going to start making its IP accessible on other devices through xCloud. And I think that's an interesting note here. From what I understand about the way xCloud currently works, is that you are playing your Xbox games that you own and play on your console, streamed from your console to a wireless device. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. But essentially, the way that it's currently set up is that your Xbox acts as a local server that broadcasts a signal that you can connect to via a wireless device that supports xCloud. And you play those games off of your own hardware. Again, maybe wrong there. I'm not the most technically savvy when it comes to that. And so I do think it makes a little bit of sense for them to say, like, look, you know, we have good faith and we believe in collaboration and partnership. But as we're working on making our games accessible on these other platforms, which are going to allow for mobility when you're playing, we're going to back off of that so that we can show you what you can do within the Xbox environment. I think that's interesting. I still hold firm to some of the things I said last week. I think it makes sense in Xbox kind of like console agnostic approach that we seem to have been seeing, like the more focused on services rather than hardware approach that we've been seeing. I think it makes sense for them to entertain the idea of like, oh yeah, maybe we should put Ninja Theory's games onto other platforms or Double Fine's games onto other platforms. But I think it makes equally as much sense for them to say like, look, PlayStation has garnered a lot of goodwill and has gained a lot of success by building up a TSM. Thank you so much for the follow. Hope you are having a wonderful Tuesday. This is the PvA Nightly Rundown, the nightly gaming news show where I run you through all of the gaming news that you may have missed throughout the day so that you don't look like a fucking idiot at the water cooler tomorrow. Anyway, yeah, I think, you know, Xbox does look at Sony and say, this is what made Sony successful, so let's back off and focus on making games for our property. So I think both moves make sense. And it's interesting to see that after the conversation we had last week, that they're kind of shutting the door on that speculation that in the future, these titles are going to be coming to other platforms. I do like your name, TSM. I just don't really want to say it. Just don't really want to say it, man. Don't make me say it. That's how that. It's okay, man. I appreciate you understanding. All right, next story on the list. Kind of in the same vein, different company. This one is from DualShockers. It says PlayStation's Shawn Layden discusses bringing titles to other platforms. It says, in a new interview with Bloomberg, Shawn Layden, chairman of Sony Interactive's... Yo, TTV Brian, thank you so much for the follow, my dude. It says, in a new interview with Bloomberg, Shawn Layden, chairman of Sony Interactive Entertainment's worldwide game studios, discusses the possibility of bringing their first-party titles to other platforms. Quote, we must support the PlayStation platform. This is non-negotiable. That said, you will see in the future some titles coming out of my collection of studios which may need to lean into a wider install base, end quote. Additionally, the interview points out that, quote, particularly multiplayer titles designed to be played on personal computers may see broader distribution, end quote. You seem like a really cool guy. Well, thank you. Thank you, TTV Brian. You seem like an awesome, wholesome, down-to-earth guy. Well, thank you, TSM. I appreciate it. I appreciate you guys coming by and listening to me chat about the news. We do this every single weeknight, 9 p.m. Eastern time. And we're trying to figure out if Mixer.com is our new home. We've been doing this a ton on over on Twitch. Been doing it for, I think today is episode 40. So, yeah, just seeing if we like Mixer better. So yeah, this is an interesting story because it kind of flies in the face of everything that we've thought about PlayStation's approach to exclusives. PlayStation's bread and butter has been their stable of first party studios, you know, creating awesome exclusive games. the success of the PlayStation 4 can be highly credited to things like Horizon Zero Dawn, like The Last of Us, like God of War, like Uncharted. Yo, Digit, thank you so much for the follow. Appreciate it. Their success has been on the back of games that like stay within the walls of PlayStation and don't move any further out. And so to see them talking about this idea of like, Brian H, thank you so much for the follow. So seeing them talking about this possibility that like, hey, we'd be open to bringing games is interesting. But I also kind of believe it's just a little bit of lip service. Sony has taken a lot of punches for their unwillingness to kind of be open about their platform. And Digit, thank you so much for the host. Appreciate that as well. Sony's taken a lot of lumps for not wanting to play nice with other people. And TSM, thank you so much for the host. And TTV Brian, thank you for the host as well. And so I think in this environment where it looks like, okay, Xbox is wanting to put their games on other platforms. Xbox is wanting to put their games on other platforms. Nintendo seems to be getting a little more open. We're seeing almost everything coming to PC. That PlayStation doesn't want to be viewed as the bad guy like they were in the whole Fortnite conversation last year during E3. To be the guy that's like, oh, we're just hoarding up all of our properties and keeping them in our cave like we're a fucking dragon laying on a stack of gold. And so I think this is a little bit of lip service. I think PlayStation understands that their success is fully contingent on exclusives. People buy Sony consoles because of the exclusives. They want to play the next Horizon Zero Dawn. They want to play Ghost of Tsushima. They want to play The Last of Us Part 2. And so I wouldn't hold my breath about PlayStation games coming out on other platforms. I think this is just lip service. Yo, TSN, thank you for the 100 sparks. Also, new to Mixer here. Full disclosure, kind of an idiot. I watched a short little video about Mixer Season 2, some of these features. So with the sparks, is there a way to get an alert that pops up when people redeem them? Or is that something that's just kind of exclusively tied into the chat? Because I don't know. I'm gonna have to look into it more this weekend. That's one of my objectives for this weekend. My wife is going out of town, so I'm gonna just have the weekend to myself to watch League and Overwatch League. And so I'm going to spend the weekend doing that and working on understanding Mixer a little more. So next item on the list, guys. Square Enix released gameplay footage for their upcoming Avengers game. This is from PC Gamer. So there was an 18-minute gameplay demo that was played behind closed doors at E3 that had leaked from somebody just kind of like shooting video on their phone and then posting it up on the internet. Well, now you can watch that in complete 4K. Let's see. Let's just pull this up and watch it for a minute. So, and we'll scrub through because let's see. I watched it a little bit before the stream. Also, hold on. Let me make sure this isn't blowing you guys' eardrums out. Turn it down just a little. I am admittedly not the biggest TTV Brian says that game looks fire. I'm admittedly not the biggest like superhero dude. I'm not really into the Marvel movies. My wife is like super into MCU. She watched Endgame over the weekend. She spent like her spring break watching every single movie she had missed and stuff. I've just never been that big of a superhero guy, except for I've got this badass Wolverine poster behind me, which is dope. But the Avengers have never really been my thing. But the gameplay does look awesome. I think one of the things that God of War got so right was you felt the weight of the combat. And obviously without having your hands on the controller, it's hard to tell, but it really looks like they try to get the weight of each character right in this. So, you know, Thor being like super powerful. Iron Man being more agile, relies more on his technology. Also, thank you for the 1,000 sparks. TSM Sweaty. So this was the Thor gameplay. Let's see. Let's get to the Iron Man gameplay. It's so important to get the flying mechanics correct in these. Yo. With the 5,000 sparks and the medical care package. Thank you, TTV Brian.
Those rockets are going to destabilize the bridge.
Yeah, I know. I built the damn things.
I don't know. This part looks a little stiff. It is pre-alpha build, so you can't judge too much on it. So there's Iron Man. Let's see. Here's the Hulk gameplay. Let me see if I scrub past the part that I saw. So there's one point where he just picks up a dude and uses him as a battering ram against other people. I may have skipped past it. Thoughts on if I gave you 20K? I'm sorry, dude. I don't know what sparks are. Like, I know you gain them from interacting on stream and stuff, but I mean, I appreciate the interaction. I don't know. I don't understand them though. I don't know what they do. Did we get to see the any Black Widow gameplay? Here's Captain America. All right, the shield gameplay looks awesome. Throwing the shield. And here's the Black Widow gameplay. I think these games just are. It's so important. Like, how does it feel when you're playing it? Does it get this movement right? One of the things I do like is it doesn't look like a lot of QTEs, which these games can be super heavy on. Wait, I checked and I don't have 20K. No worries, TTV Brian. I appreciate you just being here and chatting along with us today. So yeah, you guys can go check out the gameplay, all 18 minutes of it over there. Just you can find it on YouTube. So the game looks cool. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Apparently, we've just scrubbed past all the QTEs because this PC Gamer article says. Then there's the issue of QTEs. Are we seriously still doing those in this year of our Lord 2019? There is nothing that kills a gameplay experience for me faster than QTEs. The Order 1886 had a lot of issues. One of the main issues was that the pivotal parts of the game, it took all of the agency out of you as a player and just relied on cutscene animations where you had to hit the right QTEs. Oh, let's see that Wolverine poster on the big screen here. My wife got this for me for my birthday a couple years ago. Put it in this nice frame. So, yeah, Wolverine was like a big part of. I've got a brother that's 7 years older than me, and we used to love X-Men, and we'd fight over who got to use the Wolverine action figure. And he had this action figure that one time he wouldn't let me play with, and so when he put it down, I took it to the top of the steps like the little shit brother I was. Took it to the top of the steps and threw it down, and his arm popped off, and my brother got real mad at me. And so one of the first presents I bought him after like I got a real job was I ordered that same exact Wolverine action figure and gave it to him. He put it up in his office, and one of the kids in his youth group dropped it on the floor and broke his arm off. Same arm that I broke off. Oh man! So it was just meant to be. That Wolverine was never meant to have his arm. All right. That was actually the last story on the list for us tonight. So that's going to do it for the show, for the PvA Nightly Rundown. But we are going to play some League of Legends here right when I'm done. But I do want to end it for our YouTube audience. We appreciate you guys tuning in to the PvA Nightly Rundown, the nightly gaming news show where I run you through all the gaming news that you may have missed so that you don't look like an idiot at the water cooler tomorrow. You can watch us every single weeknight except for Wednesdays at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. This week over on mixer.com/PVA Radio. On Wednesday nights, we do our our podcast, which is called PvA Radio, which is where me and two co-hosts get together. We have an in-depth discussion about the 3 biggest gaming news stories of the week. It's a collaborative audio feature article, or a CAFA, if you will. So we're going to end it for the PvA Nightly Rundown. We appreciate you guys. Stick around if you're over here on Mixer. We're going to play some League. We love you, and goodbye.